Announce that a quorum is present, the meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code 551, specifically 551-071, 072, 074, and 082. The time is now 6 o'clock p.m. The time is now 7 o'clock, and we will now reconvene into open session. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, we would like to introduce our new Board of Trustees members, Tricia Sheffield, and we would also like to welcome Ms. Kathy Duke back to the board. There's a note in here to give you a recap, but I don't see the exact figures written down anywhere, so I'll just tell you they won.
Actually, that's on page 46.
Do you want to read the actual numbers, Ms.
I
Pryor?
can do that for you, Mrs. Lee.
That's so helpful.
For place one, a total of 9,835 votes, with each of the candidates for place one receiving the following votes. Kathy Duke, 6,065. Tracy Ali, 507. Paige Shovin, 2,393. And June M. Ehinger for 870, for a total of 9,835 votes cast. Kathy Duke received the highest number of votes cast for place one. For place two, a total of 9,552 votes, with each of the candidates for said place two receiving the following votes. Burnell Gregg, 3,831. Cornell Becker, 751. And Tricia Sheffield, 4,970. Tricia Sheffield received the highest number of votes cast for place two.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor.
And they do want to have a ceremonial swearing in, don't we?
Yes,
okay.
we do.
I don't get blank stays. I'm like, okay.
Ms. Jeannie, are you going to do that, or is Dr. Liddell? You are? Okay. So Tricia and Kathy, if y'all would like to join Ms. Arnold at the front down here by the microphone.
I, Kathy Duke,
Tricia Sheffield,
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of school trustee of the state of Texas. State of Texas.
and will to the best of my ability
Will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States and of this state.
and laws of the United States and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
We'll do better.
We did better last time.
At this time, the board would like to reorganize and elect officers. Does anyone have a motion?
I would like to nominate Ms. Carol Kyer as board president. Do we need to do all of them?
Is there a second? We have to do them separately.
Mhm.
Yes. We have a motion for Carol Kyer to be president of the board. Motion by Kathy Duke, seconded by Julie Foudy. Kathy, would you like to speak to your motion? Are we ready to take a vote? Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous, Ms. Arnold? And at this time, I can pass the gavel.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. No, I don't need a hammer. No. Oh. You want all this? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Latham. Okay, moving on. We will go to, the chair will entertain a motion for the election of officer of vice president.
Madam President, I nominate Jeff Knapp for the role of Vice President.
Motion, I need a second?
I second.
Second, Ms. Latham. That was a motion by Ms. Foudy for Jeff Knapp for the position of Vice President, and it was seconded by Ms. Latham. Any other nominations? Seeing none, any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Moving on to the office of the Officer Secretary. Do I have any nominations for the position of Secretary?
Nominate Julie Foudy, the Office of Secretary.
It's been nominated for Julie Foudy for Office of Secretary. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Duke. Any discussion? Any further nominations? Seeing none, the nomination is closed for Secretary. We'll take a vote. All in favor of Ms. Foudy for Secretary? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Thank you very much. All right, I'm a little rusty. Moving on. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. A moment of privilege has been requested by our new school board members. Ms. Duke, since we'll go alphabetically. Ms. Duke.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported me, and I want to introduce my family that is here today. And please stand. My son, Danny Duke, my daughter, Jessica, my mom and dad, Ruby and Doug Burleson. I couldn't have done it without them and each and every one of you that voted for me, and just thank you very much. Thank you to my family.
Ms. Sheffield.
I, too, would just like to thank my family, and I'll just ask you to stand. My husband, Doug Sheffield. There he is. Children, Lauren Sheffield, Mason Sheffield, and then my parents also are here, Ted and Cheryl Davidson. And then I saw, I have two dear friends that helped me during the campaign, and they're here, and hopefully I haven't missed anybody else, but Anna Rainwater and Kronda Timish. I'm just so thankful and so appreciative of the support. I'm also a crybaby. But I'm very humbled and honored to be here, and I just thank you for your service and your support of me during this election, and I just pray that I serve you well as a trustee. So thank you.
Okay, moving on. Congratulations. Welcome to the board. Yes, we need to consider items discussed in closed session. Mr. Knapp?
This time I move that all personnel recommendations be approved. Okay. As presented by administration, including the following appointments. Okay, age is caught up to me. Adrian Marino as Director of Career and Technology Education for 2012-2013 school year. Do we need to do individually or as a group?
Oh, we can do it as a group, can't we? Okay. Okay.
Second.
That was a motion by Mr. Knapp, second by Ms. Foudy. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Oh, yes. Is Adrian here? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay.
I move that Joni Fitch be appointed as principal of Arbor Creek Middle School for the 2012-2013 school year.
That was a motion by Mr. Knapp, a second by Mr. McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. And is Ms. Finch here?
Yeah.
Joni, do you want to stand up and introduce your family? He looks familiar. Congratulations. I did. He's not.
Okay. This time I move that Nicole Jump be appointed as principal of Creek Valley Middle School for the 2012-2013 school year.
I have a motion, Mr. Knapp, and a second. Ms. Foudy, I got three. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Is Ms. Jund here? Would you like to stand up? Do you bring family with you? Congratulations.
I'd like to move that Robin Block be appointed as principal of Bridlewood Elementary School for the 2012-2013 school year.
I have a motion, Mr. Knapp, and a second, Ms. Duke. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Is Robin here? There she is. Do you have any family with you today? Congratulations.
Madam President?
Yes, ma'am.
Move that we nominate, or we appoint Chad Teague as human
No,
resources.
no, ma'am, no, that's okay. Thank you. No, just pull that on.
I move that Donna Jean Taylor be appointed as principal of Castle Hills Elementary School for the 2012-13 school year.
I have a motion by Mr. Knapp, a second by Ms. Sheffield. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous.
Miss, Madam President, if I could, I would like for us to be able to take photos. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we have three more to do. Oh, well, we got
No, those are
Donna.
resolutions.
I just wanted to say Ms. Taylor.
Yeah,
Is she
sure.
here?
Go ahead.
Is Ms. Taylor here? There she is. We haven't voted yet. Thank you. Okay. Well, we really should vote on that one. What do you think? Yes, okay. Any discussion? It's been voted in second? I mean, it's been moved in second? All in favor? That is unanimous. Congratulations, Ms. Taylor.
And now
Okay.
now you're officially the principal.
Yeah, now you're official. Do you want to have?
Yes. We have some special people here, if you don't mind, and I'd like to recognize them, and then we want to take pictures, if the board will allow us. And so, going back to the previous page, if we could get the principals selection committee, for Arbor Creek, if there's members of that committee here, would they stand? And we want to thank you for your service, and if you all would come up with Joni, we'll take a picture up front of you. These guys work really, really hard. Those who have been on these selection committees will tell you it's an exhausting experience, but they do a superb job. It takes 2 days to get this done, and we really appreciate the work of the parents and staff members from these schools who help us make these selections. The least we can do is take their picture. And now a group that worked really hard, the selection committee for Creek Valley Middle School. Would they stand? And yeah, come on forward, you guys. And Nicole. Oh, they do. These are. The members of the selection committee for Bridlewood Elementary School. Any committee members here? Okay, there are. And you guys want to come up and have your photo taken with Robin. Thank you for all that you did in this process. And the selection committee for Castle Hills Elementary. Any members of that committee here tonight? All right. Well, we're going to, Donna Jean, you want to get your picture taken? Okay. They'll go out there. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to all of you and all the work that you did. You did a super job.
Thank you, Dr. Waddell. I need a motion for number 6.
Ms. Kyer, I move that the board approve the resolution to ratify contract for purchase of 1.5 acres of real property at 2230 Waketon, Flower Mound, Texas.
I have a motion and a second by Ms. Latham. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. You're on a roll, Mr. Knapp.
Here we go. I'd also like to move that the board approve the resolution to ratify contract for purchase of 2 acres of real property, 2330 Waketon, Flower Mound, Texas.
It's a motion and a motion by Mr. Knapp, second by Ms. Latham. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Ms. Arnold? Okay, moving on to awards, recognitions, and presentations. Okay. Ms. Gregg? We have an award here for Ms. Gregg, who served the Board of Trustees from 2006 to 2012, an appreciation of your commitment and dedication to the students and staff of the Lewisville Independent School District, not only as a Board of Trustee, but also as a teacher and a friend to all the children in our district. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you very much. This has really, let me just stop, take a deep breath. because I am truly honored to have served in this capacity. It really is like the cream of the crop and a good ending to a wonderful profession. For the field of education, I think is one of the best that anyone can ever have, because you are touching the lives of so many. And as Krista McAuliffe said, I touch the future, I teach. So that's how I felt about it when I was in the classroom. And when I became a member of the board, I thought, wow, now I get to touch the lives of many other kids, other than just those that I taught. And that was truly an honor. Having had the opportunity to work with my fellow board members and the administrators, the superintendents, and principals, teachers, and particularly the students, it was a joy. And it is something that I will always treasure because, as I said, it's like the cream of the crop, and it puts a good ending to a wonderful profession. So thank you, Dr. Waddell, and to the board, and Tricia for working so hard, because I didn't realize how far I had neglected so many things. I have been juggling, and as many of you know, I was also working on a PhD, and I was just chewing it up and spitting it out. And when I got so tired, I took a break. So after I lost the election, and I said, I don't see it as that big of a loss. I see it as a time to start something that I need to finish. And so my daughter said, okay, did you register for summer school? I said, can I have a little break? But I did register today for a class in the fall to finish 2 classes that I need to finish that PhD, which was my late husband's goal. He had written it on his bucket list. And how many people do you know go get a PhD to fulfill someone else's goal? So I'm going to do it and move on. So thank you very much.
We have 2 more awards, recognitions to do. Do you want to finish those up first? Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay. I was wondering why Mr. Hill suddenly is learning Latin. I didn't understand that. Okay. Not that he doesn't, or whatever. Okay, Susan Wren is here for the UIL State Biology First Place winner. I'm sorry. See, I still screwed it up. James Hill. Mr. Hill? There he is. They just told me I still messed it up. You have to come up and speak some Latin first, though.
All right, I'm pleased to recognize my salutatorian, Juan Ramirez, who's also the state champion in UIL biology. Very proud of him. Now, Juan decided to go to an easier college to get his degree. He's going to Duke University in the fall. So, very proud of Juan.
Mr. Hill, Mr. Hill, here I am, over here. What do you have to do to get state biology? Is it more than a dissection, or what do they have to do? We've never had one of these before, or we hadn't had one in a long time. Okay. Well, why don't you tell us? We want to know what you had to do. We haven't had one of these in a long time.
He's not afraid. Well, for the UIL science competition, you have 3 portions of the test. The whole test is 60 questions, and you have roughly 2 hours to complete it. You can get medals overall, but you can also get medals for individual subjects in science. So there's a medal for biology, for chemistry, and for physics. For the UIL biology, you have to get the top score out of 20 questions, so basically everyone that's competing. So what I had to do was I had to miss only 2 questions out of 20, all over the entire subject of biology. So that includes everything from molecular biology to ecology. So.
Okay, and could I please call up Miss Susan Wren to award the State Junior Classic League winners, or announce them?
I know that you lowered the microphone for me. Thank you. Oh, okay. Well, before I get to Junior Classical League, we also have a German winner tonight. So, could Jimmy come up and his teacher, Frau Erdmann? Yes. From Flower Mound High School this year, Frau Erika Erdmann took her German students down to the University of Texas at Austin for the state German contest. And Jimmy Cow here scored a first place out of about 1,049 students who were there from 61 schools all across the state. Jimmy got a first place in listening, a first place in vocabulary, and a first place in grammar at level 3 German. And Frau Erdmann has something else.
Because of his achievement at state, Jimmy was allowed to compete for a stipend by the Texas State German contest. He won, placed in the 2012 Gail Cope Stipend Award, and here's your award. Thank you.
And now for our junior class. Oh,
Let me just say
excuse
something.
me.
Ich denke, dass es außerordentlich, nicht wahr?
And now let's see if you can do this in Latin.
No. I get it. Et tu, Brute.
And now we have some Latin students who attended the State Junior Classical League competition the end of March. And it was in San Antonio. They competed against about 1,800 Latin students from around the state. And for the students who made a first or second place, and we had quite a few, they are getting to go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina next month to nationals to Wake Forest University. So, from Flower Mound, first of all, did Divya make it? Yes, come on down. Divya Narayanan and her teacher, Mr. Adam Sales. And Divya got a second place. Oh, there's Divya. Welcome. A second place in the vocal solo in the talent show. And this is Mr. Sales, her teacher. And Divya, are your parents here? No, okay. From Hebron High School, our teacher, Miss Herring, is here. There she is. Come on up. And Courtney Herring, and with her she brought Rachel Ellard, who got first place in pottery, Emily Jones, who got a second place in the couple's costume, and Emily was also elected to the state JCL State Executive Board in the position of secretary. And Thomas McCarthy, where's Thomas? There's Thomas, who got second place in couple's costume. Elizabeth Wynn, I saw her, so there she is. Elizabeth Wynn got second place in the t-shirt design. Jennifer Tran got first place in Kurtaman Advanced. Catherine Wee got second place in Greek Life and Literature, and I believe those are all the Hebron students. Pardon? Oh, okay. And Sam, where's Sam? There's Sam. Sam Robinson got first place in digital photography. So congratulations to our Hebron Latin students. Good. Excuse me, and Matthew Wynn got second place state t-shirt design. Sorry, Matthew, I'm sorry. Okay. From Lewisville High School, we have Mr. Alex Wasson, the teacher, and he is here tonight on behalf of his student, Amanda Bosson, who got second place in Greek Life and Literature but could not come tonight. And from Marcus High School, we have Ms. Melisande Santos, the teacher. And we have her students, Emmy Buck. Emmy got second place in reading comprehension poetry. We have, Abby Haynes. Abby got first place in girls costume and fifth place in the reading comprehension. Jenna Laurie. And Jenna got second place in Latin oratory. Zach Rice. Zach got first place in Greek Life and Literature. Preston Smith. Preston got first place in Roman Life. Emily Sparks. Emily got first place in dramatic interpretation. And Emily was also the overall high score for dramatic interpretation. And Alexis Tintler, who got second place in Latin mottos and abbreviations. Magistra, did I get them all? Magistra, did I get everybody? Yes? All right. And all of these students, I believe, are going to go to Wake Forest next month and compete in the national competition. So we will see you back in September. I know we have some parents in the room of all of these outstanding students. Parents, German and Latin parents, could you stand up, please? I see some of them. There's some. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. At this time, the new board members, would you like to have your picture taken with your family? Okay, up front. And this will give a little time for people that want to leave. You're more than welcome. I understand that, but yeah, look at that. Didn't take much, did it? That was the entertaining portion of the meeting, so. Okay, thank you very much for giving us a chance to have a little break there. We're going to move on to the open forum portion. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting. I have 2. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. The first card I have is for Junior, I'm sorry, there's the accent coming out. Junior Deming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Waddell. Before I get started this evening, I would like to thank the board tonight for allowing me to speak with you. I also would like to thank Jason Hughes and Larry Williams for providing me a list of school districts to use in the survey that's in front of you. They were very helpful in providing me that information. My name is Junior Deming. I'm the lead energy management technician for LISD. I've been employed here since 1998. It's my understanding about a year ago, the district reviewed and made changes to our vacation policy. While I do agree with some of the changes that were made, like not carrying over more than 20 days per year and removing their monetary value upon separation from our district, however, I do not agree with the removal of the 3rd week of vacation earned by employees who have been with the district longer than 15 years. This was detrimental to the morale of auxiliary employees, and many were upset. The auxiliary employees work 260 days per year and work alongside employees that are only required to work 248 days, while other employees only 240. All employees are issued an equal amount of vacation days, 10 per year. As you see in front of you, we are the only school district surveyed in Texas that has a 10-day vacation policy for all employees, while other districts in the survey have a 3rd week earned, some even a 4th week earned after a certain amount of time. This district's employees should be given some praise. To date, I haven't heard anybody complain about lack of annual pay increases last year. We understand that times are tough, financially speaking. With our financial institution in mind, I submit that reinstating the 3rd week of vacation could possibly even save school districts some money, not to mention giving a boost to employee morale. I asked to put this proposal on the agenda as a discussion item at the next board meeting, as it would mean so much to our employees. I would like to ask everyone in the audience that supports this proposal to quietly stand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Tanner Wilson.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Tanner Wilson, and I graduated from Marcus High School back in 2005, and I am here to speak about how to grow the game of hockey within LISD. And there's a level of hockey called junior hockey, which is for players ages 16 to 20 who are looking to get their opportunities to play in the NCAA and professional ranks. One of the state's best players ever is a player by the name of Chris Brown, who went to Flower Mound High School for only a year before getting the opportunity to play for the National Team Development Program from 2006 to 2009, where he got drafted by the Coyotes in 2009 and just signed with them a couple of months ago. This level of hockey is really important to the sport's growth, and I think if the schools were allowed to allow the state's junior hockey teams, like the Texas Tornado, which recently won the North American Hockey League Robertson Cup Championship in Frisco, to be allowing them to be in the schools, to allow them to promote their teams in the schools, as well as organizations like student newspapers and media organizations and stuff like that, to allow them to promote their teams. This is a really critical level of hockey to grow the sport in places like Texas and California. Going back to Chris Brown for a moment, he has played in both an under-20 and an under-18 world championship where he's won medals at both events. And on the under-20 level, he's the only player from Texas to ever win a medal at the World Junior Hockey Championships. And he'll be looking to make his professional debut next year with the Coyotes AHL affiliate, the Portland Pirates, and may even get his shot to play with the Coyotes next year. If he does, it would make him one of the first Texans to ever play in the National Hockey League. Me and Randy Mays are trying to work on a plan to send to the UIL to allow the state's 9 junior hockey teams that are submitted throughout the state from as far north as Amarillo to far south as Corpus and as far west as El Paso to allow them to be fully promoted and supported by school districts and the UIL across the state. I was wondering, excuse me, do you think if you want to see more players like Chris Brown come out of Texas, please allow the junior teams to be supported in schools across the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the informational items. The Gallup Q12 Employee Engagement Report. Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As a part of our strategic redesign process that we started in the fall, we also engaged the services of Gallup to begin to set a baseline in terms of employee engagement and student engagement so we can have an ability to gauge success in our district. With us tonight, as a result of the surveys that were conducted in the fall, is Dr. Gary Gordon, who is a strategic consultant for Gallup. And he is here tonight to share with us the results of the employee engagement survey as well as the student engagement survey. Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Dr. Haynes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share some extremely good news. To issue also a challenge. I think those are my 2 goals for tonight. A challenge in terms of what you can become as a school district, and the strength that you have already is certainly where you need to be very, very proud. This particular graphic shows a number of different steps that Gallup has been studying over the course of the last 10 years that we believe really leads to this whole business of student success. It's not a magic bullet. This will not solve all of your problems. However, we do know that the employees of this school district go a long, long way to creating the kind of success with students that you saw this evening. In the case of teachers, it's probably the greatest, the research says it's probably the greatest single school impact. The second greatest school impact is exactly what you did tonight in terms of appointing some new principals. Those people are the ones that have the second greatest impact. That's excluding parents probably, which have the greatest of all. We've been studying then this whole idea of how do you put together the pieces that ultimately, from a human capital standpoint, how do you put together the pieces that ultimately enable you to be able to put people in the right spot and have them doing their very, very best. One thing I want to emphasize with you is that really engagement is not about this whole business of satisfaction. One of the things that Gallup learned really back in the middle 1990s is that satisfaction, which was where everyone was pitching at that particular point, wasn't the right place to be, because we always experiment with Gallup employees first. And we knew from studying our own company that you could be very satisfied as an employee, have a supervisor who was very satisfied, and have very, very high production. At the same time, you could have that supervisor and that group of employees be very satisfied and not have very high production. And so Gallup really began to think in terms of what is it that makes the difference between more productive versus less productive work groups. And that's really what brought us to this whole business of engagement. And engagement is really about an emotional connection with the work itself. It's about the fact that people go above and beyond. This particular chart, as a matter of fact, begins to really give you an idea as to what we're looking at in terms of engagement. That bottom line in terms of the red is really what we have to do in order to do our jobs. The top line, the blue line, is all about the discretionary effort that you and I may put out in order to do our job above and beyond what is required of us. And it's that discretionary effort that people put into their job when they really have that emotional attachment to it and an emotional drive. We talk about people really feeling as if they have a calling, a sense of calling. Not only in terms of those people who are teachers in your school district, but also those people who are in support positions as well. In the 1990s, late 1990s, Gallup launched a massive survey trying to find out, as I said, what is it that makes a difference between more productive versus less productive work groups. And out of that study, with millions of individuals who were actually surveyed and testing hundreds of different questions, these 12 questions came out of that particular work. They're referred to as Gallup's Q12. They're 12 very simple questions. And within that simplicity, I would suggest to you is the genius. And I had nothing to do with creating those questions, so I can say that. But they really are very profound questions. That first question, for instance, at the top of the list there, I know what's expected of me at work. Tremendously, deceptively simple. But it's very, very important that when a new teacher comes into this school district, when a new support staff member comes into the school district, that they know exactly what is expected of them. Because we know if you don't know what's expected of you, you can never hit the target. And so all of those questions then go together to be an element that can really tell us a great deal about what happens with people in the workplace. This particular data that you're going to see here is based upon about 7 million responses from around the world. It's our last meta-analysis. We're in the process of doing another meta-analysis now that will take the last 3 years. And when we took a look at those people who were in terms of engaged and not engaged, and I'll get to those in just a moment, or actively disengaged, what we found was that the engaged employees had about 27% fewer absent days. And that's pretty consistent. Every school district that we've worked with, including this school district, the more engaged you are, the fewer days you take in terms of personal leave and sick leave. Engaged employees sometimes come to work when they shouldn't come to work, quite honestly. When we look at the top and the bottom quartiles, if you're in Gallup's database, top quartile versus bottom quartile, we know that in turnover situations, and schools would be that low turnover situation, up to 47% less turnover. We've not been able to collect data around that at schools because typically school districts accumulate this data for the district, but they don't accumulate it down to the individual site location and the supervisors. We hope to be able to do some of that with you. And retail organizations, for those of you involved in retail organizations, the euphemism there in retail is shrinkage, and that's basically employee theft. It's merchandise that goes out the door, but it never went past the cash register. Safety incidents in terms of workman's compensation claim. And then go to the other side, customer outcomes, productivity and profitability go up as engagement goes up. What about schools? Specifically, we know that this absenteeism is something that's really, really tied to what happens with employees in schools. And we'll watch that turnover, and then we'll also want to, over a period of time, if you choose to continue to do this work, is actually take a look at what happens in terms of workman's compensation claims for the school district. More specifically, in a study of 8,000 teachers, 78,000 students in 8 different states, we looked at really reading and math scores, and there were a number of schools, as a matter of fact, from the state of Texas as part of the study. And what we found is looking at the level of the school, whether that's elementary, middle school, or high school, made a difference in terms of student engagement level. Almost invariably, the higher you are in terms of grade structures, the less engaged students are. So elementary students tend to be the most engaged, middle school students the next engaged, and high school students the least engaged. When we took a look at the number of students in schools, all things being equal, and there were schools that beat the odds on all of these, but all things being equal, the larger the school, the less engaged kids were. The larger the school, the harder you have to work to engage kids in what happens in schools, bottom line. Free and reduced lunch, you know all the research about that. It's directly related to how kids are engaged and in terms of how they perform ultimately in terms of student test scores. Now, the only thing that we really have control over is that teacher engagement piece. Those others are givens. You know, we work with the best that we're given, but we can affect teacher engagement. And what we saw in that research with 8,000 teachers and 78,000 students was simply this. We could explain about 58% of the reading variance and 64% of the math variance on the basis of the student engagement scores. Now, what that says is the more engaged you are, there's covariance here. And this is actually a structural equation model which takes correlational research and actually makes it predictive. And so what we know is that the higher the engagement level of those students, we tend to see that higher performance level of those students. In your particular situation, we had a survey period in which every employee in the school district was given the opportunity to participate in the survey. It was done online, so it was completely anonymous. 80% of your employees participated in that survey. A little over 5,000 of the 8,000 or 6,000 employees participated, and that's a very, very good participation rate for first time out, and you're to be congratulated. I have to say that Dr. Weldell and your entire staff was extremely cooperative. The principals and the supervisors of all of your support staff really did a fine job of encouraging people to participate and really let their voice be heard. What we know is that your particular mission statement is not just a mission statement, because 43% of your employees, 43%, nearly half of 5,000 employees, set a 5 to the fact that your mission statement made them feel their job was important. Now, to get to a 5 is very, very difficult. In all of Gallup's question asking, we know that if you're very, very happy with something, you'll give it a 4. Because, we can always push somebody to do just a little bit better, right, to get that 5. So when you get someone to say a 5 on a 5-point scale to something like this, you've really done something. So what I would say to you is keep thinking about that mission statement because it has some real power with the people within the school district. So how did you do? Well, I'm going to compare you to Gallup's database. That's a high standard. It's a high standard because it has organizations from around the world that have done this particular survey, but I think you deserve to be held to a high standard. What you see on the right is Gallup's 50th percentile. In other words, 50% of the organizations above, 50% below, they came in at a grand mean total of those 12 questions at 3.97. You came in at 3.92. You're basically at the 47th percent right now in terms of our database. That's unusual. That's what you're to be congratulated for because you've got some really good things going in the school district. Let me get to this engaged, not engaged, actively disengaged for just a moment. This is an algorithm based upon individual responses of those 5,000 employees that we can then categorize them as being engaged. And those engaged employees are those people who have that emotional commitment to their jobs. They are literally driven in their work. The not engaged employees are not bad employees. They come to work, they do what we ask them to do, but they don't have the same kind of emotional commitment to that work. And then every organization we've ever studied, including Gallup, has these actively disengaged employees. And these people are not very happy. As a matter of fact, the chairman of CEO refers to them as grumpy employees. And what we know is, looking at your 5,000 employees that completed the survey, 42% of them were engaged. 48% not engaged. Only 10% were in fact actively disengaged. This is what active disengagement looks like. My job was to paint that white line. It wasn't to move the branch, it was to paint the white line. So I did my job, and then I went on. Now, sometimes actively disengaged employees actually even have a sense of humor. And they remind us of the fact that actively disengaged workers are really important. This, again, compares you to Gallup's 50th percentile, 50th percent in the database. And it's really important for you to understand this. You're starting off at a very good level, but you have the opportunity to be absolutely excellent. And as we take a look at this figure, we always look at that ratio of engaged to actively disengaged. And in your particular case, it's a 4.2 ratio. We have some school clients that are as high as 7 and 8 to 1. They've been at it for a few years. And we'd like to see you there. When we take a look at these, we look at the margins. We know that we want to keep those engaged employees, and what we want to do is then lift everyone else up, and that rising tide will lift all boats. So we want to bring some people out of that not engaged into the engaged category very, very quickly. I'm going to end here real quickly by, again, showing you some things I think that you really need to think about and to feel good about, and then that challenge. First of all, in this first question, if I know what's expected of me at work, you can see that you scored in that first column of numbers. These are all percent of 5s. So again, we're pushing to try to get those 5s. 58% of your employees said a 5 to that. Nearly 6 out of 10 said a 5. And if you look in the far right column in Gallup's database, you can see that the 50th percentile is literally 58% of those 5s. And in that center column, you can see the percentage for each one of the 12 items that you have there. Now, that question, as compared to about 7 items up, opinions count. Take a look at that one, please. You scored 27% of your employees saying a 5 to that. And if you look in the far right column, 28% places you at the 50th percentile. So that you can see that my opinion seems to count is a far more difficult question than I know what's expected of me at work. The moral of the story is the questions are not all created equal. There are varying levels of difficulty within these. But for you to have a score at that particular point at the 47th percentile is something to be very, very pleased about. 7 of the 12 items you were above the 50th percentile in this first administration. That's a great place to start, a wonderful place to start. These are the teachers, and I always go to the teachers because they compose about 50% of your employees. And they are the people who are teaching those kids on a day-by-day basis. And I'm going to click through here real quickly. These are all teachers. The school district is the first column. All teachers is the second column. Elementary, secondary, special education teachers. And I want to call your attention to the 3 items in which every one of those were above the 50th percentile. I get to do what I do best every day is about a match of talent. I have the ability to do what I'm really asked to do in this job, and that's important. The second one up there is the mission or the purpose of my organization makes me feel my job is important. We already talked about that one. And the last one is I've had opportunities in the last year to learn and grow. Those are 3 commonalities that we see among all of those individuals there. Real quickly, you have at this particular point 96 work groups that are in the middle 2 quartiles. If we take the 103 work groups that we took a look at in your school district, divide them into quartiles, and some didn't have enough numbers, so we're down to 96. But if you take a look at those and divide them into Gallup's database, you fall 96 of them fall in those middle 2. Now, the goal is, again, for us to move to the right and to get more of them in that top quartile. I'm going to leave you with some last thoughts here, and thank you for your time. But number 1, engagement improves through dialogue, through a discussion between leaders and employees. As a former high school principal, I wish I'd known that a number of years ago, because I think I would have been a better principal. What we do with the Q12 is actually force us to have, because we have the data in front of us, force us to have some discussions that perhaps we wouldn't have otherwise, and that's the good thing. The second thing I want to leave you with is that the changes that have to happen at the work group level. There are things that you can do in terms of recognition at the board level that you need to do. You need to continue to do them. Maybe you even need to double them from your own perspective. But the real changes that make a difference will occur at that work group level in terms of the people who are working together. And then lastly, we did training in this very room with all of the supervisors and the principals back in February, and everyone who was associated with that training from the Gallup side was extremely pleased with the work that those people did in that particular training. The feedback and the action planning is going on at the individual school levels. and at the individual work group levels throughout the school district. We're very, very pleased to have the opportunity to work with you in this particular regard, and we want to thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Do you want to say something?
If you don't mind, Gary, it's good to see you again. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Gordon for several years at Birdville and saw the effects of doing this over time in the district. I hope you don't mind. I'm proud to say that it was actually last year, the year I left Birdville. Maybe it's because I left.
No, sir.
But thank you. Birdville was named a Gallup Quality Workplace, and that was a real honor for us. And we started off similar to this and moved that forward. You remember meeting with Dr. Schlechte last year, and what the cornerstone of his work is engagement, student engagement. But it seems, it goes without saying, it seems so natural to think that engagement for everybody is important. Any group, the Board of Trustees, if you're not engaged, you're not going to do the kind of work you want to do. And so, I really truly believe that this issue of engagement is a cornerstone of what we do. When we look at the strategic design, both the way we got our strategic design by engaging people, and they were heavily engaged in that, and then what that design is all about really points at engagement. If you look at that work, I also feel really strongly and believe strongly with the kind of research that Dr. Gordon was talking about. There's no other organization has done the empirical work that they've done to get in there and find out, what is really, nobody else can do that. You can guess, you can do those other things, you can write your own surveys, but you don't know for sure if what you're measuring is really right. And so, I've had a lot of confidence in the fact that this is the premier world organization in terms of finding out what goes on, and the data they have to support these 12 items is impressive. I think if we're going to get to where we need to be as a district, and what our community has asked us to be through the strategic design, that we've got to point at engagement and go at it in a systematic way. And this is the most systematic way that I know of. I want to also mention that Dr. Gordon wrote a great book a few years back on engagement, and it'd be worth reading. But I just want to make those points. We can't guess what's going to take us forward. We can't go on, well, I think this is going to work. When we have good science, good research backing us up, we have a strong basis to know that if we pursue this and follow it, and remembering it's a process, not an event, that things are going to improve for all of our people, and that payoff is going to be, as we go back to one of those slides there, student achievement.
Dr. Waddell, I'd like to follow up with a couple of comments. Dr. Gordon mentioned that the principals were trained. Part of the principals and the campus's responsibilities for this next school year is to identify 1, 2, or 3 areas that they would like to particularly target and improve on. So they're going to weave that into their campus improvement plan for next year. So they are using the data, as Dr. Gordon said, both the student engagement as well as the employee engagement.
And I might say that I asked Dr. Schlechte when we started working with Gallup at Birdville I asked him about Gallup's view of engagement and the alignment and the consistency between his work and Gallup and then these surveys that they have, both for, especially the student survey on engagement. And he was very, very impressed and favorable. I know that Dr. Gordon talked about Dr. Schlechte's work a lot in his book. So it's good to know that alignment is there as well.
All set? Well, thank you very much, sir. We'll move on to informational item number 2, report of Mo Casey efficiency study. Dr. Burnett.
We had scheduled Dr. Larry Gropel to be present tonight to present this report on behalf of Mo Casey. Dr. Gropel contacted us late this morning. He said he had a family emergency involving a medical condition of his daughter and could not be here. So you have the report. and we would respectfully request that you hear his report in August.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the School Health Advisory Council Annual Report, Dr. Rogers.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, by law, every year the School Health Advisory Council, or what we call SHAC, is required to give a report to the board. The SHAC committee is made up of community members from all different fields, law enforcement, health field, so on. Lieutenant Dan Rochelle from the Lewisville PD is the chairman. He happens to be here in the audience. And one of the co-chairs is Sheila Gardner, who is the PE health coordinator for the district. They had 4 scheduled meetings this year. Some of the things that they worked on were the implementation of the 5th grade growth and development information. They received very little negative feedback on that. They certainly focused on some things. They're trying to focus on healthy selections as far as in the cafeteria, so we're working with food service. They worked with child nutrition, utilizing a character ACE to implement the Go, Slow, and Whoa program, and that program will be broadened and provided at all elementary campuses this next year. They have asked to come to the leadership team later this next year and talk to us, at least make a presentation regarding health classes in secondary schools. They also reviewed the 180 Degrees abstinence program, and their main focus is really looking at childhood obesity and some other target areas. And so they do a great service for our district, and I appreciate their service. That's the SHAC annual report.
Thank you very much, sir. Does anybody have any questions on that, since it's just informational?
Actually, I did have a question in reviewing it. If you would be willing to help me in answering this question, I saw their recommendation for adding health back as a requirement, and that's a district decision. I know the state made changes, 2 legislative sessions ago. I'm just curious to know what districts kept the health requirement and what districts removed the health requirement when the state made that change. And I don't need that information now, but if you'd be willing to provide that, I would be interested in knowing.
Absolutely, be happy to provide it.
Okay, moving on. Dual language update, Dr. Riddell.
I want to introduce Dr. Leslie Lewis. She is the person who shepherds this, and we're very proud to give you an update.
On the progress that the dual language program has made through the years. Is that good? Okay. I want to first begin by sharing the fundamental basis of our program, which is to develop fully bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural students at the end of 5th grade, able to participate in advanced academic courses in Spanish and English at the secondary level. We have a very strong instructional model that we utilize in our schools in order to accomplish our goals. Our classes are configured in partner teach models, one bilingual and one ESL certified. Our academic instruction is 50% in English and 50% in Spanish. We use a strict separation of language by instruction through the teacher and or classroom. Students rotate between teachers and classrooms, and we use the same LISD district curriculum in our program as all the other general education classrooms. And we add grade levels incrementally beginning in kindergarten until we have full implementation K through 5. This year we're very excited because we have several campuses joining us, and so this report is to update you on the work that they've done in order to build capacity at their campuses. So I'd like to first recognize them. For the most part, they are here. We have Peters Colony here with us this evening, so if you'll stand when your campus is called. We have Miss Tony Hall, who's here with us representing Peters Colony, and her lovely assistant, Miss Amy Acosta. Then we have Independence Elementary here. Miss Winslow is here. Then Southridge, Miss Sheriff, Julie Sheriff is here. We have Vickery Elementary, Miss Cheatham is here, and her assistant, Miss Devers, is with her. We have Lewisville Elementary, represented by Miss Lakshmi Valdez this evening. We have Hedrick Elementary, Miss Bargo is here. Creekside Elementary, Mr. McGinnis, and last but not least, Wellington, Dr. Robin Mackey is here. So I want to publicly thank them for all of the hard work that they did this year. We spent many, many hours working on building capacity with our teachers. About 125 teachers were trained across the district under their guidance. So thank you, administrators. We have 11 elementary campuses coming on. You see the top 3, Central, Peters Colony, and Independence, will have full K-5 implementation this next year. And Southridge, Vickery Parkway will do a K-1 implementation of the two-way program, and then the remainings will do the kindergarten implementation. So we spent this year in a lot of conversations, a lot of professional learning, and transformative change on these campuses in order to prepare for the implementation of the dual language program. We did what we call learning walks. Teachers walked together, interdisciplinary and cross campuses at Central and Peters Colony and Independence, our flagship schools where dual language has existed for the longest time. We had 125 prospective kinder and first grade teachers, administrators participating and observing our seasoned and veteran teachers in the actual act of teaching in the dual language instructional model. We followed through with campus visits at each one of these campuses, hosting conversations around how we could change our model to improve the education for the students and include English speakers in the Spanish program. Many lengthy conversations that these leaders have had on their campus in preparation for this fall. For our prospective administrators that are here with us this evening, hours of conversations around the capacity for change on their campuses. We met monthly as a professional learning community, and we also participated in learning walks at Central's Peters Colony and Independence. For our prospective parents, we began the recruitment this year, and when I was here at this time last year, actually, we talked about how we were going to recruit from the community those who would be interested in having their children participate in a Spanish program. So we began by updating our website, which we had a lot of interest through our website, and we used that as our main avenue of communicating with parents. We also hosted a dual language expo in May where we had over 100 parents in attendance, and they watched presentations by current dual language parents, program alumni. We had two individuals who'd actually gone through a two-way immersion program and could actually reflect as adults on their experience, and that was good for the parents because they could see a grown-up version of what was going to happen to them and to their children. And then we had program personnel present on various topics of interest to the parents that were there. We also hosted a series of meetings both in the community and at the individual campuses. We had over 30 meetings since January 2012. And those were open to anybody who was interested and had a child that was of that age. One of the most interesting ones is we had a mother come that was the parent of a 2-year-old that was just coming to educate themselves because they were going to be one of our best parents yet. So we were excited at the results we had and the embracing from the community. We had 2 meetings per campuses, 2 per zone, and several all-district level meetings. What was most interesting is we had our first Dual Language Institute last year, and we got a lot of good response back from our professional community. So we decided this year we would host a second one, and we would open up a strand to the parents and take the learning just a little deeper for the professionals working in our program. We commissioned a logo for the Dual Language Institute to reflect some of the changes that we see happening in our district. So we call it Catch the Vision or Captar la Visión. And this is actually a piece of artwork that Talon Whitrock at Killian Middle School did in her art class to represent what she sees as a visual representation of multiple languages. So is Talon here this evening? No? Okay. Well, Mr. Castle and Mr. Wynn are excellent role models for Killian Middle School, and Talon did a great job. They were treated to Chick-fil-A for lunch for their efforts, and so I found that you can get middle schoolers to do pretty much of anything if you'll feed them Chick-fil-A. It works. So our total numbers, this is where we do the drum roll. We have, as of June 11th, a total of 396 interested families that have elected to participate in the upcoming year. You see the breakdown there is 271 kindergartners and 125 first graders that will be participating next year. For our future, we're already planning for what we're going to do for this next year. The administrators, we met and had a debriefing of this year and a reflection of what we did well and what we would like to improve upon for next year. We're going to continue our professional learning walks and continue the level of support for teachers as we build their capacity to work in this program. We're also going to have 6 meetings this next year for all of the parents district-wide who elect to have their child participate in the program so that we can continue their learning alongside their students. We also had what we call we've had our first taco talk. We had breakfast tacos, and we discussed with interested administrators throughout the district the tenets of this program and what would be involved in actually participating as well. So if they were interested in considering that for their campus, that they would have the opportunity to interface with the personnel of that staff, of our program offices. So we had 6 interested administrators, and we had some good taco talk the other morning. So it's been a great year, and once again I want to thank the administrators for their support. We have teams of teachers that are highly trained at the kindergarten and first grade level at 8 new campuses ready to go for next year, and now all we need is just kids. So at this time I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, or Dr. Riddell?
I got a quick question.
Yes,
when
sir.
this takes off and your enrollment doubles next year, do you have the resources to handle that?
We have we look at our projections for our Spanish-speaking students if we're talking about the 2A immersion program, and we are right at about 50% right now. So if it doubles, we will have a 1-to-1 match in our 2A classes. So I think we're good for next year.
I was just curious if the total number of families that have elected to participate in the dual language program was
296, I believe.
296.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those come from English-speaking homes?
All of them. Well, I say this, we have some French families that are participating, so Spanish is not their first language. So we have some homes that are multilingual, but they've come into the school district as English-speaking students.
So how many come from Spanish-speaking homes?
We will serve approximately 500 kindergartens next year as our projected enrollment for our kindergarten program. Essentially the same number, maybe a little bit more in first grade.
So they're not included in this number?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Your numbers at Independence and Wellington of students that are coming from other campuses are impressive.
Thank you.
Do those students just opt into the campus that's closest to them?
Yes, they do. Transportation is not provided, so that's one of the considerations that the families make as to where they go. What we have found is they like to go close to where they live, to the first school, so we work with them and allow them to make those choices, but we do not provide transportation for them.
Thank you.
I think that was it. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Leslie. We appreciate it. Moving on, board dates meetings for 2012, 2013. Dr. Waddell.
Okay, we just put together suggested dates for you as far as the board meetings for next year. So that's for your, just to notify you of what we're proposing, and if you have any questions or comments on that. We looked at, you have their reasons for change when we deviated from our normal schedule. So we all kind of looked at it together so we wouldn't miss anything, and we think this is a viable calendar for next year.
The election on May 20th moved. Is the election day May 11th next year? Yes. Okay, it is. Okay. All right. That's the only question I had about that one. Does anybody have any questions about that? Comments? Days on? Okay, moving on. Kindergarten report card update. Dr. Riddell.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Waddell, Kathy Hawley is going to talk with you about the updated kindergarten report card. She is supervisor for early childhood education.
Thank you very much.
There's information in your packet regarding the proposed revisions to the kindergarten report card. For the last 3 years, we've been using a standards-based report card for reporting progress in pre-K and kindergarten. If you think of a traditional report card where students might get A's, B's, C's, or a 92, 76%, whatever, a standards-based report card really provides more specific information about skills or clusters of skills. And so the reporting is done according to a rubric that is used by all of the teachers at that grade level, indicating whether or not the students have reached the level of being developed for that grade level, still developing, needing support, or something that's not yet assessed. And so with the oncoming introduction of the new math texts for our elementary grades, we knew we would need to revise the kindergarten report card to address the changes in that area. And so we took that opportunity to bring teachers together to talk about not only the math area of the report card, but just a time to review the other areas as well. The changes that you see in the recommended document are primarily in the math area, again, to align with the new math text, but the teachers did recommend some other changes in the area of science and social studies to provide some more specific information to parents about what their students are learning. We also clustered together some language arts and life skills in a new category we called learning skills, which really will be addressed across all academic areas in the elementary schools in the coming year. So what you have is the report card document itself, which requires board approval, but we've provided also the supporting documents that do get revised as the curriculum changes through the years, which include that grading rubric, a document that the teachers use to report on some other specific information that we call the individual profile card, that again just provide more information to the parents regarding the progress of their children in kindergarten. In our review process, as we did initially with the development of this report card, we invited representatives from all of the elementary campuses, so teachers from all campuses had the opportunity to participate. We had 2 meetings this spring that were facilitated by myself and the elementary curriculum supervisors, providing their content area expertise in order to come up with the document that we're sharing with you tonight. Are there any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Moving on to discussion items. Monthly financial bond, quarterly investment, and new construction reports. Dr. Burnett.
You have these reports in your agenda packet. We'll try to answer it. And it also includes the quarterly investment report. We'll try to answer any questions that you may have about that.
Is everybody okay? Okay, moving on. Bond Oversight Committee membership for 2012-2013. Dr. Burnett.
This item, as the provisions of or guidelines of the Bond Oversight Committee were to have envisioned 1-year terms with either the reappointment of existing members or appointment of new members by any newly elected trustees. So we bring this to you as a discussion item for your thought and consideration, and then we would ask that you consider an appointment of the committee in August for the 12-13 school year.
Okay, so the 2 new school board members will need to have 2 people. Pick 2 people. Any 2. Well, you should ask them first. And yeah, and I have to pick one, yeah, because
may have to change because some of the members, the current board members appointed, didn't come to the meetings or things like that.
Okay, so I guess all the school board members should review their appointees and go on from there. Because I know I have to get a new one because mine bailed on me. So, anyways, any discussion on that?
Since this is a discussion item, can we ask questions?
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that I have is, there's been some confusion. I know I've asked Dr. Waddell twice now. Okay, tell me again what we're expecting from the Bond Oversight Committee, because it got a little confusing there at the beginning. But does the Bond Oversight Committee give input to where, when, how we spend bond money? Or does the Bond Oversight Committee listen to input from administration
and either agree to go along or not. I'm still a little fuzzy. When we're told as a board the bond oversight committee is recommending, did they really have any input? I know Carol had some questions when we were talking about the LHS auditorium. Are the bond oversight committee members voting, or is it just a nod of the head to see if we have consensus? Are they really able to give input? Can you give us some gory details of what this bond oversight committee can't do, and is responsible for doing?
Well, first of all, the example of LHS and really the Aquatic Center, where the LHS auditorium was something that we began discussing in the summer a year ago, and so it was really already underway when the bond oversight, by the time it got constituted and started working. So the Aquatic Center, the best way I can answer that is the bond oversight committee has seen presentations from the architect on the Aquatic Center. They've seen him on the 9th grade center, and I think your guidelines really call for the bond oversight committee to serve as an advisory committee to you is about how you're spending your money, and it's a little of both. There may be some projects from time to time that get redirected, readjusted, and I think the bond oversight committee has certainly had input on that. They certainly ask a lot of questions, and we try to provide answers for them. But I think it's really a dynamic. And as far as the LHS auditorium, I'm not sure that's the one that I would, since that was already underway, and as were some of the other projects. I think it's a little of both. It's input as well as a monitoring function. Dr. Waddell may want to elaborate.
Yeah, obviously we brought this model from our previous district, and we had that in place for nearly 6 years. And they're an advisory committee. They're not a planning committee. So, but they're an important advisory committee. We asked when you appointed them that these be recognizable leaders in the community. We wanted people with strong voices because you can't. We wanted that legitimacy of when it's our job as an administration to plan the projects. So ostensibly, what Dr. Burnett does is bring those projects forward as we move through the bond and say, here's what we're looking at doing, and then getting their feedback on that. And really, in what's been provided to you that we put out last year when we convened this committee, their job is to see, okay, does it have integrity in terms of what we said we were going to do, knowing things change over time, but nonetheless, in general, does it have integrity with the election, and keeping track of the way we're spending the bond dollars. So they're kind of they have the ability to say, we're concerned about this. It may be deviating, and ask questions about how we're doing that. But in terms of actual planning of the projects, they're not doing that. However, they're meeting monthly, so they're getting pretty up-to-date information about what's going on regarding what we're doing, and so they are heavily involved in much more so than obviously most people would be, in terms of what it is we're doing. But nonetheless, their role is not to propose or to plan, but rather to give us feedback and advise us on the projects that we're doing.
Okay, so my next question is, so when you say give you feedback, can you give me some more information around what type of feedback you would expect from the bond oversight committee?
I think it could be anything. You present the project out to them. It's an open discussion. And once again, as I said, the individuals that we asked to be put on this, we wanted people who would speak their minds and ask good questions and express their opinions. So it could be questions they have about it. They could make express their opinions about that in terms of what this bond is supposed to accomplish, and the money that we're spending for the projects and how we're going about it. So, you know, the participation, how they participate could vary, but it ranges from questions to opinions, giving us advice whether they believe we're on the right track and we're doing things the way that we should be doing. And you know, the bottom line on this is that they can report to you and especially to the community that, hey, the projects we believe they're in line with what we were told we're going to be doing, and they are managing the money well on this, and so that's what we're looking for from primarily from this committee.
Well, one example that's worth noting is we've met at our first meeting of Bond Oversight in October. As you may recall, we were in the middle of going through our processes, looking at the LHS auditorium rebuild. One of the questions we did ask the Bond Oversight Committee was to weigh in on the size of the auditorium, whether it would be 800 or larger 1,100. And I think the committee, as I recall, was pretty clear that they thought the larger size would serve the campus better.
That's a good example because, you know, we're looking at adjusting that auditorium at that time, but that's where it was very valuable because we could get this citizen input on whether that was a feasible thing that we should be doing, and and give us some cost to move forward on that, which we did, and brought it to the board and got your approval on that. So, you know, they're valuable in that respect. Say, look, we're thinking about this. It's a little different than what was perhaps originally discussed, but how do you feel about this in terms of what we told the voters? And so, you know, that was helpful for us in terms of revising the proposal and bringing it to you all for your vote.
Well, and that's why that was part of my question, because I remember Ms. Kyer had some questions about the Bond Oversight Committee. Did they vote on the auditorium being larger or smaller? And I don't remember exactly what your questions were, but I do remember you had a concern about that. There was quite a lengthy discussion that went on, so that's one of the reasons I asked. And then, can the board members just sit in on these meetings from time to time, or go on a rotating schedule where we can just sit in and just see what the meeting is like?
We're not going to tell you not to.
Okay, I'm done.
I have a concern about the Bond Oversight Committee. I've talked to several members, and a number of them feel disengaged. They're not sure what their purpose is. As a matter of fact, the last meeting I did sit in on, and I think there were 8 members who didn't even show. You know, when this was brought forward, I was really excited about it because I really thought it was an opportunity for the community to get involved again and to say, okay, you know, we haven't used the bond monies up to date exactly like we were told, and this organization, this committee would actually bring us back and say, this is what the community wants, so they would have more say than what they're having right now. And maybe I'm off base, but when I have been voting on these projects, I thought that these projects were being fully vetted by the committee, and it was their recommendation, and that's why it was being brought forward. But in talking to community members of the committee, I don't think that's what's happening whatsoever. And I personally, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them saying, yes, this is what we want. They don't need to be brought in on every specifics of a project, but I'd definitely like to see them having some voting power on what to go forward, what to bring to the board. It would bring me comfort in what I'm voting is what the community actually wants at this time.
Our intention was not to relinquish our job as administrators to plan the projects and make recommendations to you. I mean, ultimately, I have accountability for that, and I don't want to give that up. I'm the only one that can be held accountable for that in terms, and it's my job. When I say my job, I mean as an administration. It falls from the superintendent's office to plan these and to make the recommendations. But I feel very strongly about having citizen input, which is why I proposed doing this in the first place. And I don't know what you've heard. You know, I'll be happy to meet again with that committee to answer any questions. You know, Dr. Burnett chairs that, and I don't generally go to the meetings myself, but we're following through on this as we conducted the meeting, as we told you we would, and using this committee the way we said. And my belief is that, and we're having a report from 2 people from the committee tonight, so you'll hear something about what they have to say. It's the next thing on the agenda about the work of the committee so far. But we do share the projects that we are going to be bringing to you, and the committee does have the ability, if they think that we're not in line with what the voters are told, to tell us that and give us feedback on that. It's not, never was intended to be a voting committee, but an advisory committee. And but as an advisory committee, they can certainly express their opinions, and if they have concerns with what we're doing based on it being in alignment with what we said we were going to do when the bond was passed, then we're going to take that in strong consideration. I'll just stick with Dr. Burnett's example of the auditorium. Had they said we think you ought to stick with the 850-seat auditorium, I think we probably wouldn't have come back to you with a larger configuration. I think that it would stop there. So my belief is that we have been the members have had the opportunity. As far as people not coming, that's a different matter. And in the responsibilities of the committee, it says clearly that members should come, and if they don't, it's cause for replacing them. That's the pleasure of the board member that appointed them. But we do run these projects by, and we ask for the opinions, and they have sometimes lengthy meetings, I think, and they've been given a great deal of detail from administration and the architects about the projects.
If I may, as a past member of this committee and chair, the committee was told by Dr. Waddell and Dr. Burnett in the beginning that we were an advisory committee just to give community opinion, to discuss it. And every item that they brought to us, it was discussed, like the natatorium. We knew that it had to happen. The administration told us that. But input about how the building should be, I mean, we had members that were very active in swim teams. So they brought forth a lot of ideas that Mr. Perry took back and our architects took back. The auditorium, it was almost unanimous that that auditorium should be 1,200 and not 800 seating capacity. And, you know, we've talked about the 9th grade campuses, and the administration has taken notes, and everybody's had different opinions, and I think everybody's brought valid opinions. But the items that have passed that this board went and approved, the majority were approved by that bond oversight committee. I feel very strongly about that. Yes, we did have members that didn't come some weeks. One member that I will need to replace, she apologized. She just couldn't make it. She couldn't make the times of the meeting. And that's what we have to fix with any committee. But I think it's a great advisory because it really does bring a mixture of our whole district in there. We've got people from every community in there. So
I would just like to note, I think it's having this committee in place has been a huge step forward. I know when I was elected to the board, one of my main initiatives was more community input. And when we were hiring a new superintendent and looking at Dr. Waddell as our top candidate, that's what he brought to the table. And this is one of the examples that he gave us that was appealing and that I personally felt would greatly benefit our district. And I think we've heard some examples tonight of how it has. So I feel like it's been a huge step forward. We might need to tweak it a little bit, but I appreciate the value it brings to the decisions and items that your administration brings to us for review and approval.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Now, are we going to have a report?
Yes, we have Missy Elias here, and is Mr. Pete going to join you?
I think one of the things that we could do better to help ease your questions is to maybe have more frequent reports. So we've been meeting for, I guess, 9 months, and this is our first time to report to you. So maybe that will help ease your concerns a little bit. So let me see if I know how to work this technology. I'll go through the purposes of our committee. We were established to build trust within the LISD community. The Bond Oversight Committee monitors, reviews, analyzes information concerning the projects funded by the 2008 bond package. We're appointed by the board members. The committee serves as a citizens advisory committee by ensuring bond dollars fund identified 2008 bond package projects within budget. Financial information is open to the public. As part of the review process, the committee may make comments and recommendations regarding any proposed or contemplated changes in the scope of the work that might be worthy of consideration in light of changing demographic information, educational, financial, or other district needs. So I think that's kind of been discussed a little bit there. Our membership terms, I think you guys have discussed a little bit of this already too. Each of you nominate 2 citizens to serve on the 14-member committee. We must be residents of LISD, serve a majority of the vote of the LISD of trustees to the citizen service. Committee members serve in the district of the trustee who appointed him or her and may be removed by the trustee who appointed him or her without a vote of the board. Each appointee will serve 1 year or until the trustees vote to make annual appointments to the committee, whichever occurs later. Appointees can be appointed for more than 1 term. In the event a trustee leaves office, then the corresponding committee members will also leave the committee, and the new trustee will nominate a new member. The new member can also be the former member. You can just reappoint that one if you would like. The committee may operate within less than 14 members. Committee members serve at the will of the board member that nominated them. These were our Bond Oversight Committee members for the 2011-2012. Vernell Gregg appointed Lonnie Tipton and Alex Buck. Tom Ferguson had Linda Rutherford and Scott Ward. Brenda Latham had Brian Cassins and Jim Wiles. Julie Foudy appointed Claire Korst and Chance Oliver. Carol Kyer appointed Mike Fickling and Kathy Duke. Mike McDaniel appointed Melanie Lamb and Ed Pete. And Jeff Knapp appointed Missy Elias and Reggie Johnson. This is some of the things that we did. This is just an overview. We held monthly meetings except for December. We reviewed monthly construction and financial reports. We documented and approved minutes, received the strategic design, demographic, architecture, bond advisor presentations, discussed citizens' questions and concerns, and all this information is posted on LISD under the community tab. I'm going to skip over that real quick because I wanted to go through just briefly each of our meetings. And once again, if we could maybe do these reports a little more frequently, that would be good. On October 19th, that was our first meeting. We had 9 members present. We reviewed roles and responsibilities of the committee. We had an overview of the 2008 bond projects to date with their completed values. We were told the 2008 bond completion was going to be 6 years. Discussions concerning the West Side Auditorium and LHS Auditorium, and discussions concerning the process and procedures of selling bonds. Very quickly, the November 28th, we had 14 members present, so you can see that all of us showed up that month. The roles and responsibilities of the committee was presented by Dr. Waddell. LISD demographic study report was given to us. The bond sales and timeline report was given to us. The 2008 bond projects for technology was presented, and also the strategic design initiative was first introduced to us. January 23rd, we had 13 members present. Strategic design process was also given to show its progress. We were introduced to the West Side Aquatic charrette process. We had a construction report, financial report. We had the bond sale in April, and the facility assessment report was given. That was first introduced to us in January. February, we had 13 members present. We were given the West Side Aquatic Center update, bond sale overview, financial report, and the fiscal assessment process was, facility assessment process was given and introduced the committee that would be doing that. March 19th, we had 11 members present. Construction projects, including design phase of Marcus and Flower Mound 9th grade centers, was presented to us. The facility assessment committee was once again presented, and a bond report and bond sale was shown to us. April 23rd, 13 members present. We were given the West Side Aquatic Center design development phase. The design charrette for Marcus and Flower Mound 9th grade centers was presented. The facilities assessment committee update was given, and a bond sale overview was also given. On May 21st, this was our last meeting, we had 10 members present. We were given the designs for Marcus and Flower Mound 9th grade centers, which will be opening 2014. The West Side Aquatic Center update was given, and they were taking bids, and the construction was to be beginning, and that's to open 2012. Facility Assessment Committee summary. This was a huge, thick book given by Irene, and the details about the facility study with all the campuses at all levels. Construction report was given, and then we were told that the new appointments were coming from the Board of Trustees. Our next meeting will be August 20th. Then we go through the bond financials. We had a combined true interest cost that was 2.938%. And assuming a 1% increase in taxable values, the INS tax rate will be 42 cents in 2012 fiscal year. Refunding of the 2002, 2005, and 2006 bonds resulted in debt service savings to the taxpayers of just over $9 million. Refunded bonds had an interest cost of 4.901%, so LASD reduced the cost of these issues by almost 2 full percentage points. LASD maintained its procedure AA plus ratings from S&P and Fitch, and they gave us a couple of nice quotes. Fitch said conservative and prudent fiscal management, and S&P said the stable outlook of the long-term rating reflects our anticipation that the district is likely to continue to soundly manage its financial position and maintain strong reserves while prudently administrating its capital needs. So that's all for the report. I would like to reiterate what Ms. Foudy said, and we do appreciate Dr. Waddell bringing the citizens in to give more input into the bond, 2008 bond, way it goes. Like I say, we have some members also present. Melanie, you want to stand? I thought I saw one other member here. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for serving. We appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions for them? No? Okay, since it was discussion item. All right, so moving on to the TASB Board Policy, FL Local Student Directory. Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Karen Permetti will be presenting this item.
Madam President, this board agenda item was presented to you during the information portion of our meeting last month, and now is part of its second phase of the approval process, which is as a discussion item. And this policy is a recommendation from TASB on our student directory information. And as I had shared, we were wanting to revisit what we were giving out as far as student directory to ensure, one, that we could communicate effectively on all of our accolades, but as well as protect student identities. And I know, Mr. McDaniel, you had a question last month regarding the student directory about our PTA usage. And the PTA directories are a campus-by-campus based decision from the PTA exec board, so every campus does something different. As far as the district providing student directory information by campus, given to all parents, it's a violation of FERPA. So that's why the PTAs go through the process. If they are to put a student directory together, they have to become a member of the PTA and be agreeable to those terms and conditions of those student directories. But again, each campus makes that own determination if that's something they want to do, if they feel that's a need. And that's a PTA exec board decision, campus by campus. So I hope I answered your question for you.
Any other questions for Ms. Burnett? Thank you very much, ma'am. Moving on to the Marcus and Flower Mound ninth grade centers, the schematic design, Dr. Burnett.
We have Irene with PBK here that's going to give us an update on the latest rendition and where we are with our ninth grade centers.
Good evening, Ms. Kyer, members of the board, Dr. Waddell. I'm very excited to be here to give you an update on schematic design of the ninth grade centers at Flower Mound and Marcus. Since we met last month, we received some comments asking us to review, if possible, the ninth grade center campus at Flower Mound High School. These comments came to us directly from members of the community to administration, as well as by members of the Bond Oversight Committee who had heard from the community some concerns as to the location of the ninth grade center. So the last time we were here, we presented to you a site plan for the ninth grade center at Flower Mound, which showed the new building located just off in the parking area, the large parking area adjacent to the building, closest to Peters Colony, and accessing the building through the Fine Arts and Athletic wing. If you recall with this presentation, we were replacing or relocating the softball field that is located here, as well as relocating the tennis courts to make sure that we could clean up the circulation and make the whole master plan of the campus a lot easier to navigate. Some of the concerns that were raised had to do with proximity of the building to the neighborhood, as well as some of the proximity of the main building to the classroom areas of the ninth grade center building to the classroom areas of the main building. So we went back and reconvened the charrette committee at the end of May, as well as added additional members to represent the community to come and voice their opinions so that we could look at different options for possibly siting the building in a manner that would best serve the entire Flower Mound community. So what we're showing you today is the result of that charrette. As you can see, we have taken the original location for the building and we've left the parking area alone, and we have relocated the new ninth grade center to closest to Old Settlers Road, where the existing baseball field and practice area are located. What this does is that it allows the building to tie in, so now the classroom wing for the ninth grade campus is closest to the classroom wing for the high school, allowing for easier transition between periods during the day for students and staff that travel between the two buildings. It also allows for a joint tie-in at the cafeteria, at the existing cafeteria at the high school, which allows for the opportunity to bring some of the same concepts that we're incorporating in the ninth grade campus, like in the Learning Hub, and incorporate some of that into the main high school itself. With this, as I mentioned, we are relocating the baseball fields. We're showing that there would be a new drop-off entry to the ninth grade center off of Old Settlers Road. We would keep the traffic in the main parking and access to the high school off of Peters Colony. So now we've separated the points of entry as far away as possible. We're still going to conduct a traffic study pending your comments today. We have made arrangements with the town of Flower Mound to meet with them and get a preliminary traffic study that can be completed now in the summer, and then we will complete the traffic study once students are back on campus. We're still showing that we would be relocating softball and tennis as well and creating that pathway. We've taken the location originally, and the last design, we had the gymnasium addition at the same location where we now have the ninth grade center, so we have relocated that to the other end of the practice facility. And in locating it here, we've tried to keep as much distance from the homeowners, and in doing so, we are replacing the indoor practice facility at this campus as well. Just a blow-up of the floor plan showing again that we will be tying into the cafeteria, and this will be the classroom wing, science classrooms, as well as the main general classrooms are closest to the building. We have a main entry with administration and the learning hub centered in the building, and then the ability for outdoor courtyards as we had before. And then the gymnasium tying into the practice facility so we can maximize the use of existing locker rooms in the building. And this is the second floor, which again just houses classrooms as well as a media center or a little bit quieter space off of the learning hub. We had shown before the possibility of locating some of the athletic fields to Liberty Elementary, so we're showing the possibility that there is plenty of room to still add a baseball field at this location if it's so desired. And then just images of the building. This is the front entry off of Old Sellers Road. You see it has the same look as it had before. The rounded element that was requested by the charrette members has been incorporated. And again, just the main entry as you're walking into the campus. I'd be happy to answer any questions about Flower Mound that you might have.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I know we attached the two buildings because we were going to share liberal arts and things like that. But I guess I don't quite understand about sharing the learning hub, because the point of this campus is to get the ninth graders to separate them, other than what's always going to happen, band, music, sports. Why are we going to share a learning hub?
And I'm sorry if I said that. We are not sharing the learning hub.
I might have misunderstood.
Okay, and I apologize for that. We're not sharing the learning hub. The two campuses will be separate. As originally, this is the bus loop, and the bus loop is always going to be maintained as a central bus loop where students for both the ninth grade and the high school would be dropped off. At this point, they have the opportunity to enter the ninth grade center or enter the main building. What we're doing here is, as we tie in with an air-conditioned hallway to tie the two buildings, is take some of the concepts that are in the new learning hub into the existing cafeteria at Flower Mound High School. So you'll have some of the same kiosks, some of the same activities for independent learning and small group learning that will be incorporated into the existing high school. What we planned is two buildings to be totally separate, other than they will have an air-conditioned connection, but there will be a set of doors that will separate ninth graders from the rest of the building during the day. So sorry for that.
Has this presentation been shown to, I think it's the Wellington Homeowners Association?
Yes, we have the members of the Wellington Homeowners Association were part of the second design charrette, and they participated and provided their input on it.
Any additional cost, or does this cost stay about the same?
The addition of the cost is the relocation of the baseball field, but we still believe that the whole master plan can be done for the bond funds allocated.
Still within budget. Okay.
Mm-hmm. If there's no questions, the Marcus High School ninth grade campus has not changed since the last time that you saw it. We're continuing to work on that. Just to give you just a recap of it, again, the ninth grade campus is located facing Morris Road in the location where the existing softball field is currently located. In this campus, again, we're going to be doing an indoor practice facility, and the location of that is changing as we continue to get our survey information, as well as the gymnasium addition. We're showing the Dixon site, which as of today has finally, again, his location. And the good news about it is the new baseball field or softball field is going to be located as far away from the homes as possible. We're going to just have the parking area closest to that location. So we've been able to separate and provide really just parking closest to the homes and the park that is located right there. No changes from the last time that you saw it. But what we've been able to work with the campus is that we've identified all the locker areas that are existing. We've completed a survey of the existing. So we're going to, again, be able to minimize the gymnasium addition by utilizing some of the spaces that are within the building. And again, main entry off of Morris, administration, and the learning hub in this case, which is kind of a long linear hallway. The second floor houses the learning studio and the science labs. Tying into the existing building with the columns that represent the Marcus columns in the front, the building, the look of the building and the brick will tie some of the new additions to the campus. Again, the main entry with the administration right off the front. And we're still on track to come back to you at the August board meeting with design development. At that point in time, just so you know, we have hired an acoustical consultant, so we'll be able to speak to some of the acoustical treatment in the learning hub, which I know was a concern the last time, and we'll be able to share with you the findings of the traffic studies, the preliminary traffic studies that we will conduct with the town of Flower Mound. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think we're all set. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Moving on to the action items. Consider the salary schedules, Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we need a motion first.
I'm sorry.
I move to adopt the TASB compensation model as presented and approve the TASB's recommended salary schedules for the 2012-2013 school year at 3%, plus the identified equity adjustments and other items related thereunto.
I have a motion, Ms. Bowdy, a second, Ms. Latham. Any discussion?
I have one question. Dr. Haynes, were you going to give a presentation on this or no?
Only if requested.
Well,
So
no,
when
I don't
she's-
want one tonight, but I appreciate it. But I would ask that we do have a presentation for our employees that's very simple, and I liked the lady who presented from TASB, her graphics, because I think it's a change, and I don't want to instill fear from the change. I want them to clearly understand and be excited about this change, because I think it really is good for our teachers and for our district and for our future. So
That's an excellent point, Ms. Latham. Ms. West, would you come to the front and explain the next steps in the process? That's okay. Ms. Latham wants to know the next steps in terms of informing our employees, so we have.
Right now, I have a website set up that says salary compensation, that has the overview of what the teacher salary schedule would be for a 10-month, 187-day employee. And then at the bottom of it, it has for new hires, it has the minimum, the maximum. It also has what the general pay increase would be based on the TASB compensation study. At the bottom, it has the continued employees, what the salary maximum is, same process, $1,000 possibly for the master's degree. Underneath that, it says that we are working on evaluating everybody's salary, looking at and verifying where they're at. We also have a frequently asked questions that is going to be posted, along with the pay system, pay range, description of why to go to a pay range system, goes through how was my job evaluated, how was I placed on a pay scale or pay range system. Then it also has a notification of that the employees will be notified no later than August 1st individually of what their pay is for the 12-13 school year. Our goal is to go in order of paychecks. So those receiving a July paycheck, we have about 575 employees that are on a 240 or greater schedule. So we want to go in order so we don't have to do any retroactive pay. Would be fantastic. We have to look at our system requirements, though, to see how feasible it is. But we do want to notify them before they receive their first paycheck for 12-13. And it's all going to be on a website on the HR page. And then we'll send out a link to all LISD users, an email description saying go to this link. If you have questions, this is who to call, this is who to email. We're going to set up an email just for salary questions, so that we can have quicker response to those specific questions.
Can I get a link, a copy of that link? I just would like to see it.
I can send it to the board first.
Yes, I just want to make sure that it's very simple in its explanation and it's very clear, because I want them to be excited about this.
It's exactly what she had on that main page, where she said this is what you show on your website. We added one little paragraph that said about the notification, and then we added the two frequently asked questions, and then the salary, why you went to a pay range system document.
Ms. Fowdy, did you have a question?
I was just going to speak to the motion and restate what I think we all agreed with at our Wednesday. It was Wednesday, right?
Thursday.
Workshop, Thursday. The days are blending together.
Our Wednesday.
That this new system is a system that will make our pay scale more sustainable. It's a good investment to give our staff this pay increase, but in the end, it's going to be easier on our budget by making the change that we're making in the actual system of how and what we pay our staff. And it seemed like we all came to that conclusion last week, and I just wanted to restate that as a point of information.
Does anybody else have any comments to make? Okay. All in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Moving on to, I need a motion to consider strategic design initiative. Motion, Ms. Duke. Need a second? Second, Ms. Latham. Okay, discussion? Dr. Haynes, do you have anything you want to say?
We are eager to have the board's approval, and we are doing our initial planning, and probably the most important part of our planning will be soon to be discussed with Dr. Waddell's presentation on the request for application for Senate Bill 1557. So I would like to defer whatever time I had to her, because that's really where we're going right now. And there's really nothing else to say at this point in time regarding our strategic design, except we would love to have your 100% support.
Thus being said, do we have any other comments? Questions? Take a vote. All in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Yay. Okay, moving on to, I need a motion to consider Senate Bill 1557, application to participate in Texas High Performance Schools Consortium.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Foudy. Second, Mr. Knapp. Discussion? Ms. Foudy?
As Dr. Haynes said, this ties directly into our strategic design. I also saw a nice quote from Dr. Riddell in the Dallas Morning News making that same statement. It's just a natural process for us to pursue being a part of this consortium. Very hopeful, and it's exciting. And as we stated last month, I'm glad to see there's so many schools that have applied, because in our discussions in the community with parents especially, they're very eager to be a part of this. I think they would have been disappointed if we would not have applied.
Dr. Riddell, did you want to say something?
I'm just glad Ms. Foudy mentioned the article in the Dallas Morning News. I thought it was a great article, and I was so proud to read it. And you know, I think it means a lot to see three great school districts, three of the greatest school districts in Texas, Coppell, Highland Park, and Lewisville, highlighted in there. It made me very proud.
That was in the Sunday paper, right? Yes, that's correct. Well, I'm excited about it, and I think we're primed, and to have the participation level that we're having from our campuses, I think is wonderful. Does anybody else have any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Thank you very much. Moving on, I need a motion to consider TASB Policy Update 93. Motion, Mr. McDaniel. Second, Ms. Latham. Any questions for Dr. Haynes? We talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. Yeah, we're done.
Hey, guess what? I've received from TASB update 94.
Yay.
We'll come back to you in August.
Oh, boy. Great reading material for bedtime. Okay, so we seeing no other questions, concerns? All in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. I need a motion to consider granting superintendent authority to hire professional employee positions until the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Okay, there was a high voice. It was, oh, Brenda. You all have like the same octave, I'm sorry. Motion, Ms. Latham, second. Mr. Knapp.
Forget about
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Move on to consider, I need a motion to consider optional flexible school day program, OFSDP, application submission, Dr. Riddell. But I need a motion first. Motion, Ms. Duke. Second, Ms. Sheffield. Any discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Ms. Arnold. And moving on to the consent items. Are there any that need to be pulled?
Yes.
Mr. Knapp.
Let's see. Under number 2, F 1 and 2, and 23.
F23.
F 23.
F23.
Anything good with the time?
Okay, so anybody else?
Yes.
Ms.
I-
Sheffield?
Yes, 2C, please.
2C. Okay, I need a motion to accept the consent agenda minus 2C, F12, and 23. This motion, Mr. McDaniel. I need a second, please. Second, Ms. Foudy. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous, Ms. Arnold. Moving on, can we check those separately? I need a motion to consider Communities and Schools of North Texas Memorandum of Understanding.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Foudy. Second, Ms. Latham. Just, she's going to recuse herself. You can say why. Yeah. For the record, sure.
Okay, for the record, I'm just recusing myself from this vote as I have done some contracted work with CIS&T.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so all in favor of 2C? That is unanimous with Ms. Sheffield abstaining. And then moving on to F1, 2, and 23, I need a motion. Motion, Ms. Foudy. Second, Ms. Sheffield. Mr. Knapp, because of business reasons?
Yes, that's my employer is involved in this.
Good reason. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous with Mr. Knapp abstaining. And so saying that, we are going to move into closed session as authorized by Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551 et sq. to conduct a Level 3 student appeal hearing. So you all can go home. We'll be back later. Have a nice night. Okay, now we're back into open session. It's 10:05 p.m. I'd like to consider items discussed in closed session. For a student appeal hearing number 1, I need a motion. Mr. Knapp, what's your motion? To uphold?
I'm sorry. To uphold the level 3 decision reached by the administration.
Motion, Mr. Knapp. I need a second. Uphold of level. That was a level 3. He was upholding. This is level 3. He was upholding level 2. So he said it right. So I need a second.
I will second
You
the
okay?
motion to uphold the level 2 appeal.
Conduct
Decision.
Yes, because we were conducting level 3. So yes. Okay. So motion, Mr. Knapp. Second, Mrs. Foudy. Any discussion?
I just want to make a comment, just let her know that this, I don't want it to go overlooked, the students' honesty and admitting the mistake, and that's not taken lightly, and we do appreciate that.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor? That's Ms. Duke, Ms. Foudy, Ms. Sheffield, Ms. Kyer, Mr. Knapp. Opposed? Ms. Latham and Mr. McDaniel had leave early. So, okay, thank you all very much. If there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned. The time is 10:06.